Watch this.
We're about 1 month out from the 2026 Idaho legislative session, and one doctor is waving the red flag again about a parental consent law he says is putting some Idaho kids in danger. Election season isn't quite over for people in eastern Idaho. 2 cities are dusting off a rule most others ditched years ago, and it means another trip to the polls tomorrow. He helped Idaho rebuild its foster care system, and now he's been sworn in to do something similar for the entire country. How Dr. Alex Adams plans to bring Idaho efficiency to federal policy. It is the last month of 2025, which means in about a month, Idaho lawmakers will head back to the state capitol for the 2026 legislative session. What's top of mind for one Idaho doctor? Seeing a revision to Senate Bill 1329. The law was meant to amend Idaho's Parental Rights Act by preventing medical providers from performing medical procedures on kids without their parents' consent. It was described by its sponsor, Senator Kelly Anthony, in February 2024 as a simple bill.
It simply deals with the ability of parents to make decisions regarding health care and medical procedures for children. It simply says that no health care services to a minor child can be done without obtaining the consent of a parent. Just stop and think about that.
It was one that was supposed to strengthen parental rights, but instead has tied doctors' hands when kids show up needing help. As our Hunter Funk explains, one doctor first brought up the concerns when it became a law, but now several months later, he is sharing what damage has been done and what needs to change.
The new law has changed the way that I practice.
Idaho's medical consent law requires parents to sign off before doctors can treat any minor, unless it's a life or death emergency. And parents can sue if doctors don't follow that law. It was pitched as a way to give parents more protection and authority. But in months since, Benjamin Romney, who practices in Burley, says it's done something else entirely.
Pretty much all doctors are okay with always seeking out parents to get consent. But the reality still exists that there are patients who can't get care when they need to. Not everybody has parents who are in the state. Not everybody has parents who are available when they need them. Some parents are working in it. And the trouble is that this affects people who have the hardest time accessing resources.
Romney told us earlier this year he was concerned about turning teens away for things like routine care, mental health support, prenatal care, and even forensic exams after an assault, simply because they couldn't reach a parent. Some clinics started using blanket consent forms asking parents to pre-approve treatment months in advance, just to avoid getting stuck. But for kids without reliable guardians or whose safety depends on keeping certain care private, that workaround doesn't work.
There are people being trafficked here, and as much as I don't want that to happen, it does happen, and those people still need medical care. And so what happens in a healthcare system when you have people that aren't able to access care is they go to emergency rooms, they show up without any prenatal care, so you have worse outcomes. That's worse for everybody. And so things that can be easily prevented then become more commonplace. And problems that really should be prevented become a lot bigger issues.
Bigger issues that he says will keep growing unless something changes. With the 2026 session just weeks away, Romney says he's met with the bill's sponsor, Kelly Anthony, and is optimistic that lawmakers will take another look.
I have been really lucky to meet with some legislators, and everybody that I've met with, both Clay Handy, Kelly Anthony, they're really open to fixing this. This was never something they intended from this legislation. And that's what I think we need to acknowledge, that this was an unintended consequence of the law.
Now, Romney says the issue isn't about taking parents out of the picture, but rather trying to get them involved. They're making sure kids aren't left without care when a parent isn't in the picture. While he believes rescinding the law would be the best step, he does not believe lawmakers will do that and says the next best option is to relax the consequences so doctors aren't criminally punished for stepping in. Now, it also should be noted that when Governor Brad Little had signed this into law, he said there are concerns. He saw these concerns and he urged stakeholders to monitor any negative consequences before it happened, and if it did happen, to make amendments to address the issue accordingly. So here we are.
It'll be interesting to see if this comes up and how quickly from lawmakers, because we always hear about, oh, well, we didn't think about that. So we'll see if they address it in January.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
But at least one compelling argument to at least take a look. Very good. All right, Hunter Funk, thank you so much. Well, if you live in Idaho Falls or Pocatello, you're not done voting just yet. A handful of Idaho cities still hang on to something that a lot of places ditched years ago, and that is runoff elections. And because of that, voters in both those cities will be heading back to the polls tomorrow. Idaho Falls has 2 races still up in the air, the mayor's seat and city council seat 2. Over in the mayoral race, neither candidate cleared that 50% plus 1 finish line, not even with just 62 votes separating the top 2. The council race wasn't nearly as tight, but rules are rules, so those top 2, they move on as well. And yes, that means another full election day, another setup, another staff, another $60,000 price tag. The city will eventually cover it, but the county still has to put the thing on. So Pocatello's in the same boat, but only for the mayor's race. 7 people ran, nobody hit 50% plus 1, so the top 2 now go head-to-head per code. And the incumbent didn't make that cut, by the way, so we are guaranteed a new leader there. And if you're registered to vote in either city, you will head back to your usual polling place tomorrow. Bring your ID because, yes, that's required. Election season isn't over yet, at least not in those cities still holding their runoff tradition. Well, temperatures are getting colder and colder across Idaho, and for low-income families, this time of year comes with very hard choices. With only so much money available, it's hard to sacrifice the heating bill. If families wondering what they're going to do this winter as billions in federal assistance remain tied up. Until now, about $3.6 billion in funding for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, it is now available, which is a major relief for families that rely on it. And getting the support has been a question since this past summer when it was actually zeroed out in a budget proposal. It's a major topic that Idaho's Alex Adams was questioned on by a congressional panel during his confirmation process to be Assistant Secretary for Family Support at the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. It's a job that Dr. Adams now has, a job that oversees LIHEAP. And it took some time, but Adams answered questions about the program, saying if Congress funds it, we'll get the money out the door. It's one of the many focuses Adams now has in his new role, one that he sat down with me to talk about in detail.
I was sworn in as the Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services. My part of the portfolio at HHS is overseeing the Administration for Children and Families, or ACF for short.
A part of the process, answering questions from American senators about how he plans to embrace change and help those who need it most in our foster care system.
Will you reverse the administration's actions that have harmed children in Head Start?
Senator, thank you for the question. First, let me just say Head Start is a program that's personally important to my family. My wife, who's joining me today, her grandmother ran a Head Start program in Blackfoot, Idaho in the late 60s, early 70s. So I would echo what Secretary Kennedy has told the committee, which is his goal is to make Head Start better and brighter by the end of this administration. I'm eager, if confirmed, to roll up my sleeves and work with you and others to ensure that that happens.
I know that when I talked to you on Viewpoint about a year ago, we talked about like the tangible difference you were able to make at Health and Welfare. Do you feel like you'll be able to make like that quick of a difference on the national level, or does it kind of just work differently than Idaho?
Well, the role is different. So a lot of what I oversee at ACF, we are the financier and the overseer. We provide grants to state governments most commonly, and it's the states who are the direct service providers. So it's kind of a different mindset. In Idaho, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare is the direct service provider. They run CPS, they have caseworkers, they're working with the courts. They're the ones licensing foster families. At the federal level, it's a little bit more of an arm's length. So my ability to make a difference is the incentives and disincentives that we put in place. So it is going to behoove us to work really closely with our state partners in particular. One of the benefits of coming out of the state world is that I have a lot of contacts with my sister states.
What were you hoping to take from Department of Health and Welfare in Idaho and kind of share on the national stage?
I was very proud of what we did in Idaho for child welfare. I mean, when I started, we had too few foster homes. We had kids sleeping in short-term rentals. We had kids in non-traditional settings. We were bursting at the seams. And what we did in Idaho is we boiled it down to a singular metric. We created a ratio of foster homes to foster kids and said we're going to do things to get our numerator up, the number of homes up, and we're going to get our denominator down by focusing on effective prevention, specifically mental health and substance use treatment and prevention services. When I started in Idaho, we had 74 homes for every 100 kids coming into the system. When I left Idaho, we had 104 homes for every 100 kids coming into the system. We were able to shut down every short-term rental. We were able to get all kids in more appropriate settings, and hoping to bring some of that thinking to the national level.
Adams joins a list of Idahoans now in prominent spots within the Trump administration. He believes that is telling.
People that come from a state like Idaho, we have an independent streak. We don't want a heavy hand of federal government in our daily lives, especially those of us that came from the state level. We understand that budgets must balance and that you do have to choose among competing priorities. I think those are good skill sets to bring to the federal level, and they're prized. I mean, in addition to the folks you talked about, we've got a great team at HHS of Idahoans. I have 2 Idahoans working with me at ACF. More to come. I'll give you a little spoiler there. And we also have other Idahoans at HHS. At the Indian Health Service, one of the leading physicians is an Idahoan. So we're punching above our weight in federal healthcare policy and policy generally. And I think it is because of that ethos Idahoans bring to this.
He's putting that Idaho spirit into action already.
I trust the states. I trust the states to make the right decisions. They know their local communities more so than I ever will out of my limestone building off of Independence Avenue. My second default is I trust parents. A lot of our programs are child care subsidy, Head Start, things like that. I trust parents to make the right decisions for their kids, and I'm going to take those mantras with me to DC.
He's also going back to his Idaho roots in another sense, cutting red tape, so to speak, an initiative that he was a part of as a leader of Governor Little's staff.
We have about 43,000 pages of sub-regulatory guidance. That's about 42,000 too much for my liking. So we've spent quite a bit of time as a team hacking through those. Maybe we don't need guidance, asking all grantees to recognize World Water Week and things like that. Let's shrink this to something that's more manageable, more bite-sized, and focuses on the main thing and only the main thing as we give guidance to grantees, specifically the states.
Now it's on to major initiatives.
Just this week, we launched our Home for Every Child campaign, where we're going to start measuring each state's ratio and putting incentives in place to help states get their ratio of foster homes relative to the number of foster kids up.
A special executive order organized by First Lady Melania Trump, fostering the future for American children and families. Adams stood alongside the president and First Lady for the launch.
President Trump and the First Lady have a soft spot for foster care, and First Lady in particular has been leading on this issue for years. She has, in the most literal sense, put her own resources to benefiting older foster youth. And they signed an executive order reaffirming this nation's commitment to our most vulnerable children. It directs my agency and others within the federal government to take specific actions, gave us 180 days to take actions. We're going to do some of these things in 180 hours. Starting next week, we're going to start letting some of the pressure out of state administrative burden. We've got a roundtable to advance AI and child welfare and some of those things. But really kudos to the First Lady and the President for leading on this issue, putting a flag in the ground and saying, we must do things better, we can do things better, and we will.
Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it?
Well, we have a winner. The winning name for the 2025 Name a Plow contest from ACHD, it's Taylor Drift. It's a playoff of Taylor Swift. You get it? The Ada County Highway District made the announcement on social media today. The agency says about 240 names were submitted, although some of those were repeats. Taylor Drift was the most popular, and we're told that it was by a pretty wide margin, but some other names got attention, like Life of a Snow Girl, Mr. Plowtato, and the Blizzard of Oz, just to name a few. With winter approaching fast, the City of Trees is closing some of the trails in the foothills, and when one door opens, one door closes, another one opens. That's the saying. A couple of Idaho ski resorts are gearing up for ski and snowboard season. Richard Rodriguez has today's 411.
The Nampa City Council is meeting tonight to restart the process to transfer the Forward Idaho Center to the College of Western Idaho. Last month, the city discovered decades-old title paperwork errors in the land records. The discovery was made after a review of the open meeting law complaints filed by a city council member and a citizen in October. The Twin Falls County prosecutor found only minor procedural mistake and closed the case, saying no decisions were made in secret. Officials later discovered title discrepancies dating back more than 20 years, which has since been resolved. Though the city was not required to restart the public hearing and voting process, officials said they would do so out of an abundance of caution. Tonight's city council meeting started at 5 o'clock and the public hearing and vote start at 6. Starting today, the city of Boise is closing some of the trails in the foothills to protect the landscape. City officials say most of the closures will last into the spring season. Starting today, Upper 8th Street in the foothills will close to full-size vehicles in order to protect the road. Other confirmed closures include the landslide loop trail above Hidden Springs, all trailheads in Hawkins Range Reserve, and mountain bike-only trail Sideshow 46. Other closures will be determined based on the weather conditions throughout the season. Bogus Basin is officially open on the weekends. The Easy Rider conveyor is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, and that includes access to the terrain park. The retail shop, Bogus Creek Lodge, and rental shop are also open. Bogus says thanks to new technology that kept snow frozen over the summer, they are the first to open this season in the Gem State. Meanwhile, Sun Valley Resort will kick off its 90th season on Wednesday. The mountain will open for skiing with several trails ready to go, including Upper College, Lower College, Sunset Strip, and Lower River Run. The Lookout Express and River Run Express chairlifts will be running. The resort will be open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Join us for this year's 7 Cares Idaho Shares coming up on Saturday, December 13th. That's less than 2 weeks away. We will be at several locations across the Treasure Valley and Magic Valleys from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., collecting food and monetary donations. For more information, or if you'd like to donate now, you can text 7 Cares, all in one word, to the number on your screen. That's 208-321-5614, and we'll send a link directly to your phone. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Richard Rodriguez.
Well, the sunny skies that brought us our incredibly cold morning. Boise dipped down to 20 early on for this kickoff to meteorological winter. Sunshine is gone. Clouds have moved in. Temperatures still very brisk. It's one of those evenings that if you've been outside at all, it kind of looks and feels like it could snow. We're in the 30s in Boise, Twin Falls, and McCall right now, but barely in the 20s in Sun Valley. And we are seeing some snow marching in from the northwest. We've seen this band holding together as it crossed through Baker City, now making its approach into the Ontario area, Washington County. So Weiser, you might be seeing some snowflakes outside your window. Valley County also seeing some very light snow. And we're seeing a little pocket of precipitation between Twin Falls and Sun Valley as well. So this is part of a cold front that is still pretty far off to the northwest. So all this precipitation is preceding the front. This is not going to be a major snowmaker for our mountains, but with how little we've seen so far this season, we'll take every inch or two that we can get. So tomorrow morning, we'll continue to see some light snow showers off and on in the mountains. I think for the most part, we'll wake up to dry conditions across the Treasure Valley. We may have a few little snow flurries or rain, sprinkles of rain this evening, and those will likely come back into the picture tomorrow afternoon. You can see coverage, though, very spotty. This is not a washout of a day. Again, an inch or maybe two above 5,000 feet by the time it's all said and done tomorrow evening into Wednesday morning. The last gasp of precipitation will be for the Magic Valley late tomorrow night, so that might drop some accumulating snow, which could lead to some slick roadways Wednesday morning in the Magic Valley, something to be mindful of. The rest of our day tomorrow, we may see a few peaks of sunshine mixed in with those splash and dash showers. We'll still hit the low 40s tomorrow afternoon, even with that front coming in. That will drop our temperatures a bit on Wednesday. Tomorrow morning, because of the cloud cover, won't be quite as cold, but still a very frosty start. We'll wake up to mid to upper 20s, below freezing across the entire Snake River Plain. And then we'll see low 40s from Ontario through Boise out into the Magic Valley. Highs will likely not get above freezing in Stanley, barely there in McCall. All right, 7-day outlook shows temperatures on Wednesday dropping just a bit behind the cold front tomorrow. That will also bring in some brisk, breezy winds. So tomorrow, definitely a day to bundle up, throw some soup in the crock pot, maybe hunker down by the fireplace tomorrow evening. Wednesday, we dip to 40 degrees, a slight little warm up on Thursday. Then Friday and Saturday, that's a system I'm really watching this week. Temperatures will climb. We'll be up near 50 by Friday, but I do see widespread rain coming into the valley from Friday into Saturday and accumulating mountain snow on Saturday as well. We'll be right back.
All right, questions. I want to get to this one because it is a great one. This is from Bill and Allie in Boise. Can you explain how ski resorts preserve snow through our 100-plus summer heat? So these are special panels. They're called Snow Secure, and they're from Finland, and they have a big pile of snow that they have at the end of last season. They put these huge panels over it, and it somehow protects it, and it like keeps all the heat out. We have a story at KTVB.com, and Bogus Basin has like a 15-minute video too. So there you go. It's a great technology. See you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.